show bags, I'd really like, before I start, there's a crystal in there. Delve in nice and deep. Because I'd like you to hold that crystal as I share something with you. So I'd like you to close your eyes and take a breath. And this time when you take a breath, I want you to see beautiful gold energy coming inside from the top of your head, down into your heart and throughout your body. Taking a big breath in and gently opening your eyes. When we come into the world, we know that we're perfect. We're pure perfection. There is nothing wrong with us. We know that everything is possible. We're pure potentiality. And that pure potentiality, we know we can do anything, anything whatsoever. And if we have a dream, we know that it's possible. And that dream is held in our hearts, just like in your rose quartz. Just have a look at your rose quartz now. Because your dream is right there. And this small child had a dream. The small child knew what she was here to do. She was here to bring the physical and the metaphysical together as one. She was here to bring the awareness of consciousness. The awareness of everything in your heart works out. And what happened was, as she grew up, she learned about separation. She was actually told that she was fat and ugly, unlovable. Who would love you? Nobody would ever marry you. And throughout her journey, she was told how dumb and stupid she was. But there was still a flame within her heart. She knew she had a destiny. And to prove that this child was different, especially being from the Middle East, with this amazing gift, they pinned the evil eye on her clothes so that everybody in the area knew that she was evil and not to go near her. So she learnt separation very quickly. All the stories that she had fed that illusion of separation. And what happened was, with the separation, she got more separation from her homeland of Kuwait. They immigrated to Australia. And her first day at school, she felt like she was in a nightmare. She couldn't speak a word of English. She could only speak Greek and Arabic. But inside, that flame stayed lit. She watched people in a way that nobody had watched before. She knew things, but she couldn't tell anybody. And what happened was that she digested life, not in love, but in fear. And when she digested that life, she took every single word that every single adult said to her. Open your mouth now. Just gently. Do it now. If you watch how children learn, they sit like this, taking all the information in, listening, being totally vulnerable, totally trusting. And as that information about being dumb and stupid continued right through her schooling life as well, because she couldn't speak English, because she couldn't relate to the people here, the story continued. And so did the story of rejection, to the point that she would make herself vomit, just so that she didn't have to go to school. And the story of rejection and not being pure perfection didn't nourish her at all. Continued the story of separating. And if you notice, it's a story. It's a story of self-poisoning. One that she chose to take on, even though deep inside, her heart knew something magic. The story had been engraved inside her. And because we're all the authors of our life, she continued to write that story. And so with writing that story, she hid a very deep secret. And that deep secret was, she was the example of what was possible, just like all of you. That deep secret was, as Marianne Williamson, that we're all brilliant. But there was also another secret that she held. And she would sit rocking in a corner, saying, good comes from bad. Good comes from bad. That was her affirmation after the abuse, in all ways. Mentally, emotionally, physically, and sexually. She just knew there was a bigger picture, because she held on to that dream in her heart. She lived on fear, total paranoia, because the Arabs were coming to get her. And that's what used to happen in Kuwait. But she didn't realise the Arabs weren't here. They weren't going to get her. And something happened at Sweet 16. We imagine that Sweet 16, everything's wonderful. Well, her world ended, and it was the world of her heart. You see, it was Christmas Day, and she just turned 16. Her mother, who was her saviour and would protect her, died. And what happened was all her knowledge of consciousness shut down. All her knowledge of being aware to everything shut down. Her mother said to her before she died, you ever start smoking and I'll be with you. But what she heard was, start smoking and I'll always be with you. So guess what she did on Boxing Day? Picked up her mother's cigarettes and started smoking. She also, to numb her pain, started eating all the foods that made her more toxic. She hit the carbohydrates and the sugar, and especially the sugar. It tainted her perception. It made her see the illusions of life. And the illusions of life were that she was not perfect, that she was not gifted, and she was not wanted, and she was not acceptable in any way. She lost her insight, the insight to that knowledge and wisdom that we all have as children. She couldn't find herself. She could not see herself at all. And she looked at the world for many, many years as though everybody else was better, everybody else had it all together. She didn't realise she did. She didn't realise that she was coping with life probably better than everybody else. Along the way, she experienced being homeless. So when her mum died, she became homeless straight away. But she had a mission. She needed to get this information out there. She was about to do HSC, Year 12, which she did homeless, because she wanted to be a nurse. She wanted to make a difference, because she knew she could have saved her mum if she had shared the knowledge. Along the way, she met a guy who stalked her. She was raped. All sorts of things happened to help her with that illusion of life. But there was magic inside, just like rubbing Jenny's lamp. There was something still within her, a fire. And with that fire, at the age of 18, it rekindled the knowledge of what to do. Remember I said that all children have a belief in themselves? At the age of 5, when she immigrated from Kuwait, the first television show she saw was I Dream a Genie. So in her mind she said, you know what? I'm going to marry a man in the Defence Force called Anthony. And that's exactly what she did. She married a man called Tony in the army. And he was magic for her. Along the way, her first child was born with a cleft lip and palate, and was the first child to be born in Australia with sleep apnea, where the child would stop breathing as it slept. And so she would sleep with one eye open, one eye closed, continue resuscitating the child. But this was her opportunity to practice what she knew. The doctor said, beware, your son's not going to live for very long. He will die. Inside, she knew she had to be herself. And that's where she decided, very quietly, not telling anyone, not even her husband, she would do her magic. 6 months later, after her son was diagnosed with sleep apnea, she went back for a sleep test for her son. They couldn't understand. Why is this child who's severely sick suddenly got better? Her magic had worked. But she couldn't tell anybody, and then what was happening in the meantime as she was nursing, on the side she volunteered this magic to people. Amazing, phenomenal transitions and results. But she had to hold that potentiality back. And as she held that potentiality back, she actually created depression. Because to hold that potentiality is depression. Being a nurse and a huge neat freak, control freak, she knew how to end her life quietly, organised, clean and tidy, and was going to have the meal done, but she knew what to do. She had the pills in her hands, ready. She was just about to take them because she couldn't stand life anymore. It was just so painful hiding, so painful not to be her real self, to come out of the closet. But all of a sudden her first son popped into her face. His little vision was there. And that's when she knew, I can't do it. She continued to do this magic, but now she was doing it part-time while she was nursing. Word was spreading. But she still hadn't told her husband, her family. She still kept it quiet. And what happened was she was living on fight, flight. Anytime anyone would find out, she'd run away. She couldn't bear to be recognised, couldn't bear to be popular or known. Because what happened is last time she was popular and known, she was beaten and told how bad and ugly and awful she was. But inside her, she knew the keys to consciousness of staying in her heart. And that's what kept her going. Something magical happened. We manifest every moment of the day. There are symbols and signs telling you all the time what's going on in your life. And she had the privilege of getting something magical, something to show her it was time. She developed cancer. She had 6 months to live. 6 months to live, time to come out of the closet. What was her attitude? WTF. If you don't know what that means, ask someone next to you. I'm going to come out of the closet. I'm not going to give a rat's poo what anyone thinks of me. And it was a blessing in disguise. But there was something else. She was learning on the inside. She was going in tuition. She was teaching herself that of her own brilliance. And by the time she gave in to this disease, this was another test. She was nursing. It would go against all her core heart's belief if she went and did chemo and radiation. So she chose to sign the pieces of paper. The doctor said, you do that. We don't want anything to do with you. So she decided to heal herself of cancer. She gave herself 2 months to do so. Gave up coffee, gave up smoking, gave up mint chocolate. But 2 months later, guess what? Went back to the doctors. There must have been a mistake. We can't find anything. But that gave her the opportunity to